Everybody works in the morning, gets up in the morning, and they make hundreds of thousands of tiny little decisions. One of those decisions they make is based on their safety, how they feel. If they feel unsafe about something, they behave differently.
Since the outbreak of COVID-19 in 2020, public safety concerns have shifted and evolved every year, culminating in becoming the top issue in San Francisco's upcoming 2024 election. During 2020, at the height of the pandemic, there was initially a drop in crime as the city closed down. Concurrently, the murder of George Floyd brought racially motivated violence to the forefront of public discussion through the Black Lives Matter movement. In 2021, increased violence against Asian Americans, especially the elderly, triggered the rise of the Stop Asian Hate movement. By 2022, these attacks, along with burglaries, overdoses, and slow justice enforcement, galvanized a proposed recall of District Attorney at the time, Chesa Boudin. Boudin was recalled by public vote and Brooke Jenkins took his place, promising to end open-air drug markets and crack down on crime.
I will restore accountability and consequences to our criminal justice system here in San Francisco.
Since then, crime prosecution has been more aggressive, as shown by increases in arrests and an overall decrease in crime.
In 2023, San Francisco experienced one of the lowest crime rates we've had in 10 years. Even in 2024, we are seeing crime lower by 34%. It's because we've had to build up our capacity, not just with our police force, but also our community ambassadors, our investment in senior escort programs, our investment in technology, drone technology, surveillance technology. All these things have had an impact on helping us to address the challenges around crime. But as a major city, we still have challenges.
If you look at like the UN's list of things that people should be like guaranteed in life, one of them is the right to feel safe. When you like rob someone of that or an entire community of that, you can't just restore it overnight.
Despite the numbers, the feeling of being unsafe remains for many. The Gallup polls show that almost half of San Francisco does not feel safe, a significant decrease from the last recorded poll in 2006, where 70% viewed San Francisco as safe. One of the top concerns of public safety in San Francisco is the city's open-air drug market and mental health crisis. This crisis is most visible in the Tenderloin, which is home to the highest number of children per square mile in the city.
Fentanyl is the deadliest, most addictive drug we've ever seen on our streets. The cheapest fentanyl in the United States is found in the Tenderloin of San Francisco. One hotel in the Tenderloin last year, 40 dead bodies were pulled out of that hotel alone. This mayor's approach of harm reduction only, where literally the city government's paying nonprofit workers every day to go through the Tenderloin with shopping carts, handing out free packets of tinfoil and straws to those suffering from fentanyl addiction, enabling their continued abuse on our streets and continued addiction, is simply not right.
In our neighborhood, we have more kids than an adult. But also I'm seeing so many like drug dealer and drug user and mental health. They need help. The victim in the street, victim to the drug dealer, but also that mental health also attacking us. Yes, they have a right to stay. It's a street. But you never know how this mental health react because they're not their fault. They don't have the right mind. They're attacking kids, they're attacking women. Sometimes they cannot control it, but the city is responsible for them.
There's needles. That's very unsafe. Even the effects of it, I can see it, like when they're like going crazy sometimes, or like they suddenly like start yelling and they're moving, and
or like they're limping. They're not like walking properly.
And these drugs have that effect on them, and it's not fun when you're walking alone.
We need cultivation, and the police are not cultivated. They're not even taught how to deal with mentally ill people. And what happens is, a lot of times if someone says, oh, I didn't take my medication, the police will just walk away and leave that person to be destructive. I've seen it, literally. And I know I'm blind, but yeah, I've seen it with my ears. I've seen it many, many times in many different places that I stayed at where a mentally ill person has broke glass, hurt someone. When the police came, the person claimed they didn't take their meds, and the police left that person there to keep being destructive. It was very frightening.
There are people who are wondering if putting those that are on the streets in prison would be a good idea. Absolutely not. System that we've had for years is just, there is no rehabilitation. There's a lot of isolation. I think if we put in a lot of the people that are on the streets already, they're going to come out worse because there's just such a lack of humanity within the prison system that it's just not a solution.
I lost one of the girl in the street as well. She used to be my students in my masjid. I met her when she came from Yemen. She was a beautiful girl, very beautiful. And didn't know how did she turn a different way. I think I think they hooked with bad influence. And she was overdosed and she died in the street.
A person was having a seizure under my window because of the drugs. But no one's helping. Everyone's just watching. Also, nighttime, I always hear like loud music, people fighting, and never like, it's just, I can't sleep in peace. And it also makes me so scared because my window's to the street. So what if someone like knocks out my window, you know?
We have solicited help from people who were formerly incarcerated for dealing drugs and people who are formerly on the streets of San Francisco who used to use drugs, people in recovery, to make hard decisions around the arrests we make with a goal of getting people into treatment. And when they refuse, we still are using our tools with the law to hold them accountable. The early signs show that it's working. It's not as effective as we'd like it to be, but it's still better than what we were doing. And I am hopeful about what it will do to help make it easier for people to get in treatment and harder for people to get drugs.
I am going to call for a fentanyl state of emergency on day one. And part of the plan is to have a co-responder model where we send trained clinicians out to deal with people in crisis, not police officers. What I want to do as a condition of a pre-trial release after you're caught dealing fentanyl, the first time is I want to use geolocation technology, hence an ankle monitor, as a condition of your pre-trial release. I want a stay away order, I want a search condition applied to that defendant.
Day one, declare a fentanyl state of emergency, bring an additional state and federal law enforcement into the Tenderloin, both on the drug dealing side of the equation in particular. But then, within our city budget, create massive additional shelter capacity, and not just shelter capacity, but treatment alongside with that.
There are many crimes that are beyond the pale, and people should be incarcerated and do their sentence and their punishment. There are many other things where people can be redeemed. I knew for a long time that I needed help, but there came a moment when I was ready, and different people get there differently. But the worst thing you can do is to demonize and stigmatize, because that makes it even harder for somebody to get the help that they need. In some cases, therapy. In some cases, substance abuse disorder treatment are the right things for society and for the individuals involved and for redeeming them.
Another major public safety concern is hate crimes, in which women and communities of color have been disproportionately targeted.
I always feel like I'm being preyed upon. I always have to watch out for men coming up to me all the time and just trying to sexually assault me. I've been raped at one of these shelters that I decided to try out. It was on the second night, and I had gotten pregnant. I lost the baby and everything, though. That's why most of us homeless women are out here instead of being in there.
Especially as like a brown woman, being mid-sized and being like thicker, I think we get a lot more like catcalled. I'm just walking, I'm just existing, and someone like whistles at me, or like they say like, oh, sexy, or like just something like very like vulgar. Most likely when they do that, they're over sexualizing me. I try not to let it ruin my day, but in that moment it just really ruins my energy.
You don't know what you expect. When someone's gonna slap you, when someone's gonna snatch your hijab, especially if it's a woman, Muslim women, family walk in glass. They're very scared to walk in the neighborhoods.
Statistics show that there are less cases of gender-based violence and sexual assault, but in reality, these cases are underreported. And even if they are reported, cases can still be ignored by the courts. For example, in August, a San Francisco court announced that it would drop charges against dozens of people, including those accused of domestic violence and sexual battery. Communities of color are also vulnerable to hate crimes.
The random attacks on Asian elders that don't appear to be motivated by robbery, but appear to be motivated by hatred.
The Black community we're getting attacked. We're always being made to look at as if we've done something wrong. They half the time it's not even true. The news media will make us look like we are the worst people on earth. And you know, if it's discovered that we had nothing to do with something, or we didn't partake in something, or that wasn't how that turns out, they won't even correct it.
Almost anyone can get behind the movement that Black Lives Matter. It's like very logical, right? But I think a part of that movement became or twisted into a movement to defund the police. And so I think where we stand in San Francisco, it's hard to say like directly the police have been defunded. I say that sometimes, but like the funding is available for SFPD, but the police have been like demoralized. There's been so much like hostility towards SFPD that we don't have any police officers. We don't have enough. We're at like almost half what we should be.
What I've also noticed, and this is again no disrespect to my Asian community, is that ever since there's been Asian hate, they forgot all about Black people and what we experience out here. We've totally been overlooked. So I think that that's a public safety issue itself. Boys out there shot, where we've had to do CPR on them. The police never came at all. It's to the point to where if something does happen to us, we can't even call the police, because by the time they get there, we're going to be dead, more than likely.
Policing is very predatory on Black and brown communities. We live in a system where there needs to be winners and losers. Those who happen to be the losers, unfortunately, are those who are of color or like have a low socioeconomic status. Immediately, the number one thing that pops in mind is going to be legal status. And I feel like not everyone has that knowledge of like what is a sanctuary city or not. And even then, it doesn't necessarily protect you from deportation. So I would say legal status definitely plays a role.
Every community deserves a voice at the table. Unfortunately, due to limited attention and resources, being heard by the city can feel like a zero-sum game, where if one community's voice is elevated, another community's voice is diminished. Ultimately, public safety does not just affect vulnerable communities. It affects everyone, including business owners, consumers, and residents.
We open till 9 o'clock at night now. We used to open till 12. Nobody opens till 9 o'clock anymore. It's amazing to me that San Francisco would close at 8. I don't know, probably when one of the later coffee houses that open till 9, it's like you almost cannot find any. The question is what happened between before the pandemic and after the pandemic. It's people decided they did not feel safe. Rightly or wrongly, they just did not feel safe to go out on the street. And they decide, maybe I'll just go home. Maybe I'm not gonna participate in a community today, participate in going out. And that little tiny decision made by hundreds of thousands of people every day will affect business.
We live a block away from our local market. Last August, that shopkeeper that had spent so much time with my kids and also was part of their first shopping interactions, he was killed with a baseball bat.
Last week, in the same street we all live in, a Palestinian-owned store was broken into just last week. And even just like big stores like Target or like the mall, a lot of the stores are closing down because of robberies, because they don't have enough money.
We were burglarized about 1.5 years ago. My wife Liz and I were sleeping upstairs with our 3 children, and someone broke through our dining room window. They just stole a few things. But it was the next morning the realization that someone had actually broken into your home where you're raising your family. Your home should be your sanctuary, and especially with a family. And that really changed my perspective on the city that I grew up in. We're blessed to live in a nice part of San Francisco, but 2 months ago, my car was stolen in front of the house. And that week, I think 3 cars were stolen in front of the house. So, crime, unfortunately, no matter what neighborhood you live in, is omnipresent in San Francisco. And I think a big part of public safety, is changing our reputation so we don't have the smash and grab videos at Union Square that really start to crush our reputation nationally and abroad as a city, but also so people feel safe in their own neighborhoods.
The traditional way to reduce crime is through increased policing. However, many San Franciscans have observed the opposite trend.
The Richmond district, I just learned they only have 3 police cars. There is no way the police will come to you because you're suspecting something. They will go to the murder. But you suspecting something could lead to a murder. We almost have to wait till something happens in order to take an action. And that's horrifying to me.
I think in general, Asian people, I wouldn't say like have full trust in the police, but the most people that I asked, what would make you feel safe? Almost every Asian person I interviewed said, even a cop car, or even better, a police officer walking around would make me feel so much safer.
When done right, policing can deter crime and increase public safety. However, many communities have had poor experiences that destroyed their trust in the police.
Sometimes cops, like, they, harass the homeless and they pick on us, like, talking through the microphone and making fun of us.
I don't trust police anymore at all. I've had an experience with an officer. I'm just crossing the street with a walker and almost ran me over. And for no reason, he almost hit me. And I said, Are you trying to kill me? And the officer looked me straight in the eye and said, Not today.
The police, I do not trust them at all. I was in the BART station and I had one policeman snatch my stick from me and tell me, now you're not really blind. And everyone around stopped moving and, oh my God, did you see what that police officer did to that blind man? When they arrested me one time for me defending myself, I remember they took my hands and tried to pull them behind my back and pull them away from each other as though I was resisting. I yelled out loud. I said, I am not resisting. Stop pulling my wrists away from each other.
On the cell phone video, you can hear Porter screaming, I'm not resisting.
I'm not resisting. Stop.
Porter, a single mother of 5, says she's a domestic violence survivor and that the police too left her traumatized and injured with a concussion, a separated shoulder, and nerve damage.
I don't think it's a thing about more police, less police. It's about respect. Yeah, I think that if you're coming to serve and protect, then that's what you should be trying to do. Not come and, overly do your job. You can come and beat someone up or shoot someone dead.
Working with the police officers is being a little bit hard. They're not in time to respond to your calls. And then when you do reporting, you have the reporting. It's a little piece of paper number. They give it to you and that's it. Nothing there, Kevin. There is no progressing after that.
So in protests, it can be a peaceful protest, but they become kind of disrupt it. And you'd see a lot of police. It's where's that bunch of police when you really need them? When there's shootings, their cars are parked right in front of the homeless doing drugs. It's where are you?
I think our quality of our police officers is amazing. We have great men and women dedicated to the residents of our city, and we should be thankful for them and honor them and respect their careers. What's been a disservice has been the current administration under Mayor Breed, defunding the police, seeing a police department slide by over 25% in terms of staffing.
Well, just to be clear, I didn't reduce police presence. During the pandemic, we didn't have any parades, any festivals, any games, and there was a surplus of resources within the department. In fact, the police's budget is $200 million more since I first took office. We also have done a lot of alternatives to policing. So Street Crisis Response Team helps to deal with people struggling with mental illness on the streets of San Francisco instead of our police. Wellness checks to address people who are in crisis within their own homes used to be done with our police officers. It's being done with an alternative. So removing the responsibilities off their plate. And we're using surveillance technology, drone technology, license plate readers.
There are real things that we have to do. We have to hire more officers. We have to train them. Our police station, Central Station, they have put an emphasis on real community policing with beat cops who walk the neighborhood, who know the names of their shopkeepers. There isn't really an us versus them mentality in this part of San Francisco. And with the Chinese community, we insisted on hiring officers who were bilingual, English and Cantonese speakers, and many of them actually were raised in San Francisco in the community, and that was real community policing.
80% of our police live outside of San Francisco. Policing is done much more effectively if our police officers are from the communities. And so this is where we need to recruit officers from local universities. We need to make sure our officers are walking the beat. And there's a much more focused sense of community policing, because it's absolutely correct. There's a lot of communities that have had really bad experiences with police. I understand that. That's why you always need to have oversight of your police. And we have that here in San Francisco, and we need to continue to have that.
San Francisco's diverse communities view police differently. Some see them as a threat, while others see them as essential for safety. Effective public safety solutions must balance compassion and pragmatism to address these diverse perspectives.
There are real things that we could be contributing to. Early childhood care, livable wages, affordable housing.
I'm looking for a youth center, place that kids can feel secure, place the kids can get like therapy.
I'm not asking for more or less police. I'm just saying there must be a proper way to do this without the emotional idea of like, I want them or don't want them.
As a police officer or security, especially anybody who carries a weapon, that you should, one, have some type of mental therapy. Two, you should be evaluated to confirm that you're mentally stable to do these jobs.
Being a youth in San Francisco, your energy is taken up a lot by like your surrounding. Youth should be focusing on other issues, right? Like our school and internships and extracurriculars, not about like, you know, if you're gonna get murked walking downtown or something.
The way someone feels is what establishes as a crime. If you feel violated for any reason, you deserve the kind of support, resources, and wraparound help that you might need to make it through.
Public safety is one of the most important things that a government provides to its populace, which is that people not only need to be safe, they need to feel safe.
Public safety is the #1 priority. There's nothing else that matters if you don't feel safe.
The question in November is City Hall and San Francisco going in the right direction, or do we need a change of direction?